Load2Learn, making curriculum materials accessible.
Welcome to this Load2Learn video on accessible text practices. In this video, we will have a look at how you can improve the ease of reading without any special tools, just by making the right choices. So the first choice you can make is choosing the right font. There are three basic types of fonts: serif, sans serif, and cursive. The sans serif font is typically given as the most friendly to readers with literacy difficulties such as dyslexia, and many of them also prefer a cursive font. There are fonts out there that are specially designed for dyslexic readers, but there really is no one font that will solve all the problems with dyslexia. In fact, some research suggests that the choice of font is really more a matter of personal preference, which is why it is so important to have documents that can be modified to the user's needs. The next choice you can make is choose the right font size. It is a surprising result of the research is that not only people with visual impairments, but also people with dyslexia and other literacy difficulties can benefit greatly from enlarged fonts. So definitely never create text that's smaller than 11 points, and try to keep your text at 12 points. But even text set at 14 points can be really beneficial for struggling readers. We have a separate video on how you can zoom on your screen to make the text more suitable for reading. An often overlooked choice that you can make is to increase line spacing. Most documents are produced at the default line spacing of 1, and sometimes to reduce space that is even made smaller, such as 0.8. This makes reading very difficult, and increasing line spacing by as little as 25% to 1.25, you can achieve great improvements. And many of your readers will prefer to read with line spacing of 1.5. To increase line spacing by a custom size, not just the presets, you have to click on the line spacing options in Word and choose the line spacing options. That will open the paragraph editing dialog, where you can choose the multiple line spacings and simply type in a multiple of the default line space, which is 1. So if you type in 1.2, that means you have increased the line spacing by 20%. Another important choice you can make is not to distort the shape of letters in the way you highlight text. 3 things you should never do is use italics, because that slants letters and makes them look different than the rest of the letters on screen. Do not use all caps, because that reduces the text into just a single block, which is really hard to process unless it's perhaps a single word in a paragraph. And do not underline. If you underline, you introduce another element to the letters that can confuse struggling readers. And for readers with scotopic sensitivities, who may have the feeling that the text is floating on the screen, you've simply made decoding that text even more difficult by adding that line. It is simply not necessary in this day and age to use underlining. Instead, you should use bold. But use it sparingly to just highlight important passages, for instance, words or phrases. Do not use it for entire paragraphs, because that again makes reading a bit more difficult. Other choices you can do is regarding alignment. The general recommendation is that you left align all the text and not justify it, and use centering sparingly. Here are 3 paragraphs, all aligned differently. And the main difference between them is that the left aligned paragraph has consistent spaces between words, whereas the justified paragraph, in order to achieve the justification of the text on the right-hand side, needs to stretch some gaps between words to more than others. And that again can confuse struggling readers. The difficulties with a centered paragraph is that all the lines begin in a different place. That again can be quite difficult to decode for somebody with a reading difficulty, and somebody using a screen magnifier will be really struggling to follow where the lines begin. You can find out more about good accessible computer practices in the Computer Productivity and Accessibility cue cards. You can download the cue cards for free from the Load2Learn website. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. For more tutorials or information about Load2Learn, please visit load2learn.org.uk or contact us on 0300 303 8313. Copyright 2012 Dyslexia Action and RNIB. Licensed under the Creative Commons license by attribution for non-commercial purposes and shared alike.